And now we're gonna do something everybody like to do. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yo, this is Charlie Tuna from Jurassic 5.
This is Mark Ray.
This is Craig Charles. And you are now tuned into Joints and Jams
with Shaka Loves You.
With Shaka Loves You.
With Shaka Loves You on Soho Radio. Listen on the slide.
You gotta have tiny legs.
Nah, longer fingers, I think. Yeah.
I can ruin any party, mate.
Just say no.
and good luck on y'all show, man, for real.
Early in the week, I managed to grab Martin, aka Krafty Kuts, for a chat on the phone. I'm sure at some point over the years you've heard about Krafty. He won't mind me saying he's been around for a good long while now. He's a world-class DJ, record producer, label owner, and he's just a general all-round good guy. We chatted about what it was like to be a Red Bull 3-style judge, some of the crazy tours he's done in Australia and New Zealand. Also chatted about his new album and what it was like touring and working with Mr. Charlie Tuna. So let's get into it. Here's the chat with Krafty Kuts. So we're here with Martin Reeves, aka Krafty Kuts. Krafty, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, thanks. Yeah, not so bad. I'm feeling like the end of summer is nigh.
It's coming to that kind of time where the festivals are winding down and you kind of get a bit more time at the weekends, eh?
Yeah, definitely.
So how was your summer?
It was really eventful, actually. Done some great shows recently with Charlie. Played a couple of really good festivals. Moving Festival, which I know you was there, was excellent.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah, I didn't do as many festivals this year because I've just been concentrating on finishing this album, The Adventures of Reluctant Superhero, and thinking about obviously the next venture as well, because while you're doing that, you're obviously thinking about what your next steps after that are going to be, so that you're organised and ready to take on stuff when it's finished. It's just the way I do things, really. I just constantly love writing music, so when I get in a rich vein of form, I just get stuck into it, and just take the bull by the horns, as I say.
So I want to get to talking about the album in a little bit, but let's kind of dive back into your past first. So my first introduction to you was, I worked out, it was when I was about 15 years old, and I used to religiously buy Mixmag every month. And as you know, they did the cover CDs back when CDs were a thing. Different DJ every month, and one of them was your Instant Party Mix. Do you remember putting that one together?
I do, yeah. I literally, it was the first big thing I'd ever been offered to do.
Really?
I'd done Slam the Brakes on one, and I think I can't remember exactly what I'd done before that, but there wasn't much that had come out on a big scale that was going to promote me. So something like that was massive, because it was a free CD on the front of Mixmag, and everyone used to buy Mixmag and DJ Mag back then. If you was a DJ, and it had a free CD on, and you knew that there was an artist that you liked, whether it was Timo Maas or the Plump DJs or whoever, you wanted to check that CD out, because that would be like something that you think, is this the next big wave, or is this going to be something that's coming through? Because they're always on top of their game, Mixmag.
Yeah,
so
totally. It was really my first kind of introduction to that style of DJing and that style of mixing, because I was a total house head growing up, so I kind of only really knew about, mixing two house records together, or, of a fairly similar BPM. So that one, when I first listened to it, I didn't even understand how it was put together and how you were mixing, and obviously there's scratching on it as well. So it was kind of like almost like my gateway into that kind of scene, and then I obviously found other DJs off the kind of back of that. So it was quite a big moment for me.
No, thanks, mate. I appreciate that. It did open the door for a lot of different styles of music, like the funky breaks, the kind of heavier style of breaks in little moments, and kind of blending some funky sort of housey disco stuff with a good cool bass line, and then just like Shakedown and Get Down. I don't think many people knew what that record was, and obviously they went on to do At Night, and I can't remember who Shakedown is, but they're quite well known sort of French house producers, I think. And At Night was massive.
Yeah, it still is.
Yeah,
because Purple Disco Machine kind of did a remix of it just fairly recently.
Oh, really? Well, there you go. It just goes to prove that disco sound is back again. But
totally.
That was one of my favourite records, and I
Yeah.
absolutely smashed that in the clubs. And I used to play at Fabric. I used to drop that, and people used to love it just because it had such a nice vibe to it.
Yeah.
And it just used to make the girls dance, and when the girls are dancing on the dance floor, the guys are just, you know, straight on the dance floor. And
totally.
there's a good energy and there's a good vibe in the club.
So what was it like being, you know, obviously you're pretty kind of integral at the forefront of that scene. What was it like when it was, you know, at its kind of peak?
I was incredible. I'm not going to lie to you. I had some of the most incredible shows.
Yeah, I bet.
I can't even explain to you some of the shows that I had with Dynamite when we went on tour. For some reason, breakbeat just was massively popular in Australia.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to find one of the best agents in the world in Fuzzy, who toured me across Australia for many years.
Right.
And they were touring really big acts like, well, you know, they went on to do like Daft Punk and Skrillex and Fatboy Slim and stuff.
Right.
And they'd done some amazing tours. And I remember speaking to Ming from Fuzzy, and he's saying, look, we're going to really try and get you on this Big Day Out tour, which I knew about, which was an amazing like 6-date tour where it was Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney. And they'd done 2 shows in Sydney, so it's 7 dates in all, and Auckland in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. And he rang me up, and I remember, never forget this, Jamie, I never forget this. He goes, you're on this festival. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And the 2 Sydney shows alone were 40,000 people.
Wow.
And it always sold out. Literally the day of release tickets, bang. And it literally had the biggest headliners. I mean, and the tour that we done, because there was the big boiler room, which our tent was called, and then there was the main stage, and then there was a couple of tiny other little stages. But the boiler room stage, Sydney one was 40,000, Melbourne was like 20,000, and there was 2 shows in Sydney, and then Perth was 15, Brisbane was 15, and Auckland was about 7. So these are big shows for me and Dynamite to do. As soon as he told me, I went in the studio and I made edits, I made tracks to fit this set, and it had to be on bang on an hour. You couldn't go a minute over. It was bang on an hour. So the lineup on our stage, and we were like 3rd from the end, and Carl Cox was finishing it off.
Wow.
And then I think there was before us was Uncle Live. And then after us, it was LCD Sound System Live. Wow. So we were sandwiched in between 2 live acts. And then there was Dizzy Rascal, we played earlier, because that was just when he was making the move. But on the main stage, there's Rage Against the Machine, Bjork, Friendly Fires, I think were on there. There were some big acts at the time. And there was lineup, it was amazing. And I got to hang with with Tom Morello and Rage Against the Machine. I got to meet those guys, which was brilliant. And I even got to meet Bjork, which was quite odd.
Yeah, I bet. So I noticed on my newsfeed this week that you shared a memory from about 5 years ago, from when you were a judge on Red Bull Freestyle. So for people that maybe don't know what it is, just maybe quickly explain it, and then tell us a bit about what your experience was like. Was it Baku you were?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked me that, Jamie. That's really, really thoughtful, and that's a good insight to a phenomenal point in my career. I just released my first podcast, my Golden Era hip-hop podcast, and it just blew up amazingly, like out of this world. It literally went to #1 in the official iTunes podcast, which I couldn't even dream of. When you're talking like hundreds of thousands of plays, and to get #1 ahead of like Annie Mac and blah blah blah. This is just a good time, because this was just when podcasts just started to get popular, or just people starting to understand about podcasts. And it took me ages to put that podcast together, but I interviewed some Cash Money and some other people, and it just got noticed by Kenny Mac from McIntyre from Red Bull in Vancouver, and he asked me and said, would you be a judge? And I was really into mixing and scratching and stuff like that. And I thought, this is brilliant. So Red Bull Freestyle is basically mixing 3 styles of music or more. So rock, hip hop, jazz, funk, disco, whatever. As long as you mix more than 3 styles of music within 5 minutes set, I think it was 5 or 6 minutes, you basically it made it more interesting, and that's what they tried to encourage. So they tried to encourage all forms of dance music as well.
Yeah.
And it was just phenomenal. I mean, the judges was me, Z Trip, D Styles, Jazzy Jeff, Scratch Bastard, and New Mark.
Yeah.
And obviously Cuba was there.
Yeah.
And I just got to hang in an amazing hotel in warm weather with my idols.
Yeah.
And just I got to meet and make friends with so many people. It was just, I'd never been to Azerbaijan, so that was quite an eye-opener.
Yeah. And
we went to all these little clubs, and then a couple of big clubs, and you got to see all the different styles of DJs from around the world. And SK83 won it that year, German guy.
Okay, yeah, was that the year he won it, right?
Yeah, and he was exceptional. He put a really good set together, kind of like, it was like listening to DJ Premier, but like with dance music and hip hop all mashed up. He was really clean, he was really clever. And there was other DJs playing sets individually as well. There was Four Coloured Zach, who was a former world champ.
That's right.
And there was another guy from France who's like a disco house DJ. I'm trying to figure who he is.
Was he not the guy that won it the first year?
Yes.
He's amazing. Really good. So good.
Oh, he's absolutely phenomenal. But I got to really understand what DJing was really about. These guys were exceptional, and they were dedicated to their mission to be the best scratcher or the best beat juggler or the best, and I think at that period then, people were then starting to do tone play, and the S9 mixer had just come out, I think it was, and they were just really starting to use the abilities of mixing and scratching to another level. And incorporating trap, jungle, drum and bass, break beats, some house stuff in there, and EDM stuff at the time was just starting to get popular. So that sort of music was it wasn't so much in that vein, but the other music and forms of music they were putting together was just really creative, and a lot of these DJs were bloody good.
Yeah, they are amazing.
And just hanging with Jazzy Jeff and Cuba and D Styles. Oh, Shortcut was there as well. He's like my favourite DJ in the entire universe. His scratching is just phenomenal, and Scratch Bastard as well, just another level. And I was honoured. I got to play 2 sets.
Nice.
And we got to hang together and do barbecues every night. Did drink a ton of Red Bull, I've got to say.
I bet,
because it was so many late nights. But it was just a lesson that imagine having like DJ lessons for a whole week from your favourite DJs on the planet.
Yeah, totally.
And also learn about music and learn. I learned how to be a better DJ. I learned so many different things, and I went on to interview all the DJs there and then put them in my future podcasts. And also, the most amazing part of it, I made loads of new friends.
So I want to get onto the new album, Adventures of a Reluctant Superhero. It was out start last month, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And obviously it features Charlie Tuna from Jurassic 5 on the album. So just tell us a little bit about how that kind of relationship came about, and then how that evolved into making the album.
Well, basically, I met Charlie through the Funk Hunters when they were touring about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I've been trying to get a record to him for a few months, but it just wasn't happening. And I'd done this track, the Hands High track, and I'd went instrumental, and I said to Charlie, when the Funk Hunters had just done a show in Brighton, the next day they came down to the studio and they brought Charlie, and I didn't expect obviously to make a record. I just expected him to hear it and go, oh, this is great, maybe if I get time I'll do something on it.
Yeah.
That's all I expected, nothing more than that. He literally goes, wow, this is really cool, man. Amazing. And literally, I'll get in the booth, and he got in and he wrote Hands High, and I was like, wow, that was amazing. And he said vocals about barn owl and stuff like that, which he saw a barn owl just in the woods where we were. And basically the magic just happened. And then I'd done It Ain't My Fault with Dynamite on my All Four Corners album.
Yeah.
And then I said to Charlie after that, I said, look, we've done some really good tracks. And then we started touring together. He wanted to do some UK tours because the Funk Hunters were so busy doing their thing. They didn't really get a chance to come to the UK because they were busy in America and Canada. But Charlie had a massive following over here. So he come over and suddenly next week, me and him were doing like 50-day tours over the summer and in the winter. Yeah. And we were going everywhere off the back of Hands High, and it ain't my fault. And then suddenly I said, look, we should write an album together. And he was like, yeah. And then he come up with the idea, the kind of superheroes thing with Jake the Detonator, who done the artwork. Yeah. And then we just sort of progressed with that. And then we got the narration done, which was the last thing that happened on the album. He managed to get Sky, because he'd worked with Sky from More Cheaper before. My manager, Abel Reynolds, bless him, he managed to get Omar. So that was a big thing for Charlie, because he was an amazing fan of, and a big fan of Omar's. Right. And then obviously I got Dynamite and Harry Shotter, and I said to Charlie, look, why don't we try Lyric Spawn and Gift of Gab, because I really like them. And then next thing you know, everything was just falling into place, and every track was just like, wow, this is really good. This has got a good theme. It's got a good, it's got something there. It's got something to get your teeth into. Yeah. People might say, oh, it's gimmicky, or they might say this and they might say that. But you need some substance with an album for it to stand out and be different and memorable. If you look at Tricky Technology, that was at the beginning of a new era. That was before ghetto funk had even been thought about. And I'm not saying that what we did was ghetto funk, and what I'm saying is that was kind of merging hip hop with electronic, and me and Adam really managed to nail that, I think. And I think that with this Charlie album, there's a magic and something special about it, with each track having a purpose and a meaning to make the whole album fit together. And Charlie's just a brilliant rapper, and he just has a really good way of making hooks. And him and Dynamite just work so well together, especially when we've done the live show in London. Yeah. I just realised that having Dynamite on stage with him is just such a phenomenal feeling, and such a great. They work together so well. Yeah. And I just see the magic unfold. And Charlie's just the most professional vocalist you'll ever work with. He nails it every time. He's good at writing lyrics. He's amazing lyricist, and he's a really hard worker, and he works really good on stage, live. And basically, Adventures of a Reluctant Superhero was just. It took 2 years to make it, longer than we anticipated. Yeah. But I think the actual outcome and the finished product with the artwork and the theme and the music, it works really well in the narration. I think it's an exciting and interesting and fun album to own, have, and listen to.
So just before we finish up, any other kind of upcoming projects you want to shout about, or you can tell us about?
I'm working on a mix which I literally nearly finished today. Next week I'm just going to put the final touches. It's my next podcast. It is a Krafty and Charlie podcast.
Oh, amazing.
And basically it is all of our own hip-hop records that we've released and made over a period of time. So it's like Charlie's stuff from Fish Out of Water and all his solo stuff, along with his J5 stuff, and loads of his collaborations that he's done with various artists as well. And then there's all my hip hop stuff that I've done, and some new stuff that I've released. And then basically I've done a mix with it and really gone to town with it, like dropped acapellas over instrumentals, really rare stuff on there as well. There's some really cool stuff, and I've put the mix together, and it's about 30 minutes long, and then they'll probably have like 10, maybe 15 minutes of me and Charlie talking about how we put together the album. Yeah. And obviously a little in-depth chat with Charlie about his influences over the years and his experience of making hip-hop, and who he's worked with and stuff, and who he inspires him and stuff like that. So just a little insight into Charlie, and a little bit about me as well, and my hip-hop roots and stuff like that. And because basically I started as a DMC DJ. I entered 1989.
Oh really? DMC?
1990 was the first time I entered, and I got to like the semi-final sort of heats, and that was the year of like Cutmaster Swift and Pogo, and all the best sort of like era of UK DJs, and I was just, and DJ Mink and loads of really bloody good DJs.
Amazing.
So I was out of my depth with these guys. So I just spent my time learning how to mix records as well as cut and scratch. And I suddenly found myself like DJing in clubs rather than scratching and mixing. But I used my scratching and mixing skills to make my sets more interesting, really. And if anyone wanted advice, that's what I'd say. Learn about your music and knowledge of music to perfection. So not just about whether you're a house DJ, house music. Learn about the roots of house music and disco and funk, and what house DJs would sample, or what they would be their backbone to help them write their music. And then try and incorporate, mixing a cappellas and making edits for your set, and just making your set stand out from everyone else. And that's what I've always tried to do from day one, really, is just try to make my sets different and stand out from the crowd. And hopefully people, have appreciated it over the years, and the input that I've put in, and my passion and my love. And I still feel like the best is to come from myself. And, I'm going to release loads of other new music over the next year as well. I'll probably have another album and another EP, and I'll probably do some more stuff for Westwood, which was really good fun. I might have a Bomb Strikes EP by the end of the year. So there's a lot of good music still to come from me.
Amazing. Well, that's a good place to leave it there, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us. Really appreciate it, Krafty.
Oh, that's all right, Jamie, and it's great to see you guys absolutely tearing it apart since I first saw you at that amazing festival in Scotland.
Oh yeah,
where was it?
Kelburn Garden Party, wasn't it?
Oh my God, that was so good. And you guys played. I come on after you, and I literally was like, God, how can I take it any further from this?
That was last year, wasn't it? It was a good year, that one. It was a good party.
Yeah, I think it was about 2-3 years ago. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, they all blend into one, don't they?
They do, mate. But it was brilliant, and it's good to see you guys doing really well and writing some really good music. And
thanks, man.
It's great. It's great because obviously me and Charlie have seen you a couple of times when we've been to Glasgow, and you guys have always been there to support us and stuff. So it's really good that you're doing your thing as well. And I know Charlie feels very proud and happy to see you guys doing your thing as well.
Yeah, he's a bit of a legend, old Charlie.
He is indeed. Well, listen, I can see you've got to go because it's 5 to 10. Good luck with your set tonight.
Yeah, wicked, man. Thanks again, mate.
All right, Jamie, take care.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Peace out, mate.